Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an article titled, I Hate That Men Don't Want Me. How the decline in dating harms women and what happens to the leftover girls that can't seem to catch a break. And guys, this article is written by a woman and she is pretty upset the fact that guys simply don't want her anymore. And talking about how also there's lots of gals that the guys simply do not want. And what it's pretty much going to boil down to, guys, is definitely her sharing that she's not happy with men because men are, wait for it, all about looks. And how that's obviously wrong and not fair and blah, 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 blah. And make us out to be the bad guys for what our genuine number one attraction in the opposite sex is. And I'm doing this, guys, because it's an important reminder to point these things out, how men have what we're attracted to, the top of the list every time, and women have what they're attracted to, the top of the list. And yet, it's funny when you hear these complaints about the injustice of it and how it's obviously shallow and superficial, that guys are all about looks, blah, blah, blah. And yet, not once do you hear anything about the gals saying, well, maybe we're just as shallow too, because we're all about, we want the guy that's 6 feet tall, 6-figure income, 6+ or more down there, 6-pack, master's degree, hopefully two master's degree, speaks a foreign language, and amongst a giant laundry list of things. And, gals get angry because guys are all about the looks, but for men, we're visual creatures. It's the first thing to look at. So she could have all these great attributes. She could do very well for herself, be intelligent and cool and loyal and funny. That's all awesome. But if she doesn't have the basic amount what we'd be attracted to in the looks department, it doesn't matter. And we're the bad guys for that. And it's like a gal complained that, a guy wouldn't give her the time of day because she has all these great qualities, but, well, maybe she's a little overweight or this, and this. And it's like, would you give a guy the time of day that didn't have a job or an income or no money or no car or was living at home with his parents? No. Because a woman, they want a guy that has his shit together, that's going somewhere in life. Meanwhile, so we can look at it, go both ways. But anyhow, guys, I've gone on enough here about that. So I'm going to get into this a little bit more, and I'll add my 2 cents along as I go through this article. So it says here, don't ask me why, but I've always been the type of girl that the vast majority of men who don't want to romance. They'll F me, sure, but they generally don't want to romance me. I often have to scream and yell for it. It's ... To a point, it feels like I'm alone in this, even though I'm not. If I were honest, I know that I'm not only the one in my circle of friends to have this issue. There are a lot of women out there who would adore and appreciate those gestures that never get them. So, okay. She says here she's the type that they'll F her, but they don't want to romance her. In translation, no dating, no relationships. What guys is she going for? Is she going for the majority guys out there that are, in fact, good guys, nice guys? Or is she going for more of the bad boy types that are going to go through you pretty quickly and that's it? Was she the type of girl that maybe when she was younger, she looked better, had plenty of options with guys, but didn't give the good guys the time of day, and again went for the bad boy types, and is complaining now that she's not getting the attention she once was? Or is she someone that doesn't take care of herself physically, maybe is a little overweight, and she's the type of gal that guys will certainly hook up with, but they sure as hell don't want to, they don't want her showing up at their office bringing them some coffee. Or they don't want their friends seeing who he's hooking up with. You get my point. One has to question these things. And it's the same thing with her friends. She says there's no rhyme or reason to it. I've seen it happen to virgins, and I've seen it happen to P-stars. No joke. Most of us who are not that type just kind of settle or end up quietly walking away from men altogether. It hurts. And sometimes things actually get a little worse. How could it get worse than being the girl guys don't ever want to be with? Well, there's a sizable group of women who don't get male attention at all. Let me be blunt. If you're not conventionally attractive, you're basically invisible to most of the male gender. Okay, well, guess what? For guys, if you don't have a job, you don't have an income, you don't have a car, you live with your parents, guess what? You're not going to get any luck. But also, most guys out there are invisible to women too. Because unless you really stand out, you're again above 6 feet tall, you have a certain look about you in terms of your looks and also physique, and call it the six pack if you will, amongst other things, fancy car, you're invisible too. So believe me, the vast majority of guys out there are invisible to women. So don't complain too much that you and a lot of gals you hang out with are invisible to dudes. But let me tell you something right now. Believe me, the difference is that there's something that she could do immediately to get attention from guys. If she's overweight, join a gym. Go multiple times a week. If you don't know how to work out, hire a trainer. Just one session. I'll put you on a plan, show you the exercises to do, and off you go. You start working out regularly. And also, you start changing your diet. If you're overweight, you start eating healthy. You could literally get what they call the Weight Watchers app, like $20 a month. It's worked wonders for my clients, where you put in how much you weigh, how much you want to weigh, your age, and all that shit. And it assigns point systems to food and how much you can eat per day. But you do this, but you can still enjoy a glass of wine here and there and whatever. And between that and the working out, you'll lose the weight. So instantly, you lose that weight, you'll be more attracted to men. Then, if you have shorter hair, grow your hair long. Most guys like long hair on women. As you lose that weight and look better, start getting better, more form-fitted, feminine clothes. Guys are going to notice that. Start painting your nails. Start going to the salon every couple of weeks. Keep that hair looking good. Put on makeup. I'm not saying so much makeup that you look like a freaking circus clown, but you get my point. All these things to help your looks. And mark my words, you'll get attention from dudes. So when I hear women complain that they're invisible to guys, well, that's probably a big reason. You have either, unless you're born with a you were seriously deformed at birth, which is not your fault, there are things you can do that can improve your looks, and you're going to get noticed from guys. All right, so stop complaining. And of course, then be feminine and other features like that. But don't just go wallowing around complaining, woe is me, it's not fair, because if you're not willing to do something about it. We can all do things to improve our situation. Anyhow, she says, yo, it effing hurts. I know. I'm going to get so much flack from a lot of my readers about this. It hurts when you feel that kind of rejection from the opposite sex. And to a point, I want to say it's especially true when you're a woman or present as one. You don't think dudes hate being rejected too? Goes both ways, honey. She says, it sucks to admit, but we're in a weird crux of society. On one hand, women are told they are not supposed to feel validation from the male gaze. And realistically, that's true as point. Only you can give yourself the validation you need. Well, if that were true, you wouldn't have hordes of women around the world on Instagram and social media twerking and shaking that ass and exposing everything to get male attention. Or even more going on OnlyFans. So, society may tell you one thing, but you naturally respond to attention and validation is there no matter what. However, we're also told that women's value is based on how attractive they are. So when we don't get any attention, you see how we feel broken, defective, wrong. And yet society seems to fault women for being upset when we're passed over like yesterday's leftovers. Well, when it comes to attraction from men, yes, the number one thing we look for are looks. So if a gal is not getting that attention, believe me, if she starts taking action, like I described about 2 minutes ago, believe me, her situation will begin to change in 6 months. Mark my words. You drop that weight, your ass shrinks, you're looking better, you're feminine, you're girly, long hair, all that stuff. Guys are going to notice, because just an average girl can get dudes. Average. And if she's above average, no problem. So what tells me is this woman obviously is, let's just say at the moment, challenged in the looks department. So start doing stuff and you'll get better. But also don't go walking around looking at the ground with a dark cloud over your head. That's not going to be attractive either. Stop complaining. Start doing something to fix your situation if you're not happy. Don't make men out to be the bad guys. Because look, we know darn well if we don't have a job and we don't take care of ourselves and we don't have an income or a car, live at home, no guy should complain that he can't get a woman if he's not willing to do things that, guess what, they're going to be attracted to. Hate to break it to you guys. Some of you may not like this, but if, again, you got no money, you got no car, you're living with your mom and dad, and you're mad because women don't want to date you, well, dude, what do you expect? Come on here. Anyhow, it's hard to feel invalidated by everyone around you, but it's not just that. There's also that feeling of being at a party and being the only one without that X factor. Even when people say, it's okay, it doesn't feel okay. You start to look around and ask yourself, why am I not worth it? She says, how do I know this? I mean, it should be obvious by now. I had major hormone imbalance that caused a series of issues in my body. I bled for 6 months, gained 90 pounds, and also started getting very strange outbreaks that affected my neurology. At times, I couldn't walk if I tried. Okay, now we're getting to the bottom of this. She had some kind of a issue years ago, gained 90 pounds. So even though it wasn't her fault getting that issue, it is what it is. She blew up like the Goodyear blimp, so dudes aren't going to notice. But it sounded like when I read this before that she was able to get the proper diagnosis and taken care of. So then it's about losing that weight and doing the best you can to improve yourself. She says, when I was sick, I didn't look good. I went from smoking hot to looking like a bloated corpse. And it was then that I realized that most men won't even give the basic respect to a woman who doesn't fit the bar for pretty. In fact, a shocking number of men went out of their way to tell me I was worthless. Well, if that is true, that is horrible. And I don't promote guys going around saying cruel, mean things to anybody. Especially someone that obviously has some kind of physical problem, like because of a sickness or illness or disease or whatever. And that's horrible, sure. But if you say you were smoking hot before and obviously got all the attention from dudes, but then you put on all that weight because that disease or whatever, what do you expect? I mean, it sucks, but what do you expect? It's the same thing. A guy could have been a multimillionaire before and had all the toys and the swagger and the suits that looked really good and all that, but then all of a sudden lost it all, and before he got all the attention from women, and now he wasn't getting any attention anymore because he obviously is now broke. What does he expect, She says, I'm doing better now, but that was a harsh lesson how little I was worth in the eyes of most men. If I'm going to be honest, I've had a hard time forgiving guys over how I was treated back then. Well, any guy that said those things to you, what you said, I wouldn't forgive him either, because they're assholes. But hating on guys because they lost attraction for you because you put on all the weight, regardless of the situation, you can't do that. But you said you're doing better now, so I'm assuming your health is better, so now let's lose that weight, let's take care of yourself, and mark my words, you'll get attention from dudes. To a point, I always question whether the men in my life would still speak to me if I got sick again. It's sad, but those memories can't and won't go away. She says, what happens to the invisible women? Honestly, this is a good question that a lot of people don't think about. Men may never believe this, but it's not always easy to find a man willing to give you the time of day. It's really not. And sometimes it's not a matter of dieting either. Sometimes, for rhyme or reason unknown, girls just don't have the it factor that men want. But I've noticed a pattern among ladies who had this happen. Here's what I've personally seen. Now let's go over her list here. Number 1, first they get desperate. I've been that girl. I sat down men and asked them, what do I have to say or do to make you like me? Okay, that's pure desperation, and that's going to turn off anybody. I mean, unless you're smoking hot, and even then that could turn off a lot of guys. Smoking hot woman says, why don't you like me? They'd be like, whoa, back off, honey. Sadly, attraction cannot be negotiated. This goes for any gender, and most ladies realize trying to force interest is a fool's errand. Absolutely. And it goes both ways. Same thing with guys. Number 2, then they try to improve themselves. We all know the ones who have to hit the gym and gotten plastic for the hopes of finding a man. Sometimes this can work. Sometimes it doesn't. I know quite a few something beauties who, for one reason or another, are still passed up for dates but still get laid. Well, they get laid, but the dudes don't want to date them. So again, what are the type of guys these gals are going for? That's a very important thing to question. It says here, number 3, then they get depressed. I can't name how many ladies I know ask me, why can't I get into a normal relationship? I wish I had an answer. Lord knows men generally don't seem to want to contribute to a relationship and seem fine with hurting women if it benefits them. Well, again, these sounds like the bad boy, Chad and Tyrone types. So the question is, why are you or the different girls you know that are in your go for those guys? Because if you are remotely good looking, there are plenty of good guys out there that aren't going to do that. So don't make all guys be out like what you're describing here. Number 4, they often get bitter and angry. I mean, why wouldn't they get angry at being passed up or used? It effing hurts, especially if you put so much work into trying to find someone. You start viewing men as these people who just remind you of how little you're worth. Seeing happy couples makes you get into a simmering rage when you're at this stage. Is she trying to say that a lot of single gals get pissed off when they see their friends with a man? Some even try to sabotage. I've talked about it before in other videos. Number 5. Eventually, most give up and stop trying for a relationship altogether. A friend of mine is in her late 30s. She looks 22, no joke. Perhaps the only time she ever showed fatigue was when she told me that she hadn't had a date in 10 years. She sighed and told me, I don't even date anymore. I'd rather just walk along. They don't want me, so I'm not going to try. It's better not to waste my time and tears, you know. Well, again, who is she going for? And what about her looks and all that? Number 6. But regardless of whether they continue their pursuit or not, they often make a life for themselves and start enjoying it. The cool thing about being single for a long time is that it forces you to enjoy living with yourself. It all forces you to stand on your own 2 feet. Eventually, these ladies find a ton of friends, some adopt kids, pets, and even whole communities of their own. So they eventually throw in the towel and give up. Well, again, back to the whole thing. Start going for guys that aren't scumbags. Start taking care of yourself physically and stop walking around with a dark cloud over your head, and you'll start attracting dudes. But is it easier to just say, woe is me, life isn't fair, or actually join a gym and work hard and be disciplined with food and dieting and eating and all that, growing your hair long, being feminine, the many qualities I mentioned before. A lot of people, they rather just complain. But we got a whole world, guys, of people that rather just not do anything to fix their situation and just complain about it. They're unhappy. They complain they don't make enough money. They complain because they hate their jobs. They complain about the people they're in relationships with or lack of that, but are unwilling to do anything about it. Okay? And it goes both ways. Guys complain too. And I don't want any complainers on this channel. I want people that are going to be working to improve themselves, not sitting around bitching about it, feeling they're entitled to handouts. She says, shockingly, they live happily, enriched, fulfilling lives. In some cases, men do eventually come by asking for them. However, most women who reach this point tend to reject them simply because they can't see what a man would be able to add to their lives at this point. Oh, so they're pretty much that's revenge for them. As it turns out, these ladies end up living longer, happier, and healthier lives. Sure. The statistics prove it, too. So as it turns out, sometimes leaving women single truly is the better choice. That is not what you want. If that was what you wanted, you wouldn't be writing this article. And I know women that are in their 40s and have this attitude, but deep down, believe me, they're the same ones crying just a couple of years ago because they're in their 40s, and they're pretty, I might add, for 40s, but they rejected every guy left and right because they felt better, more entitled to somebody else, someone better. And then they were crying because they don't have a husband, no kids, all that, and feel like big fat losers. And then all of a sudden, they're happy, independent women. See what I mean? She says, ladies, your pain is valid. Yes, I'm usually all about talking about how it's often better to be single than with the wrong person. That doesn't mean that you can't feel a pang of hurt when you don't get the relationship you wanted or work for. Humans want to be desired by others. You're not wrong for wanting a relationship, and a lot of people who ask, why can't I just be happy alone, don't get that. I do. So if you haven't heard this today, let me tell you, your pain is valid, and I see you. Okay, again, I get that you're unhappy. Well, do something about it. Don't complain. Just the same way that guys shouldn't complain that for the guys that want relationships and to date and all that, don't complain that women aren't into you and don't want to date you when you don't have a job or no money or no car and you live with your mom and dad. Get a job, get an income, save your money, grow your business, start a business, get yourself a car, dress better, get out of your mom and dad's house, and believe me, along with some personality and obviously taking care of your looks, you'll get girls. Now, I'm going to go through some comments because these are definitely good from different men and women about her thing, and just to show you I'm not alone in the thinking here. This is from a woman. She says, I became invisible when I got over 40. If men don't know how old I am, they're interested. But once they find out, I might as well have leprosy. I'm good enough to sleep with, but not dateable. I'm coming to terms with that. Luckily, I have a great career and great friends. I don't mind having casual hookups with men since that's all I can seem to get these days. But I do wish there were men out there who wanted to actually date an intelligent, independent, well-educated, highly sexual woman. So this woman's over 40, she says, and she has no problem getting dudes to hook up with. The thing is, what happened to the guys that were good guys when she was younger? Were those the guys that she passed over because she still thought she was better, could get better guys, and now she's in her 40s? Typically gals in their 40s, the guys will have no problem with hookups, but if they actually want like a marriage and all that, and they're the types of guys you want, they're just going to wait, and they're going to go for gals that are younger, 30s and 20s. It's just how it is. Another one says, a majority of men and women go through this. Women are judged by men on their looks. Men are judged by women on what's in their bank accounts, assets, and what kind of job they have. Ding, ding, ding. I agree this needs to change, but when I read articles by women on this platform, a man has to have money, a good job, and assets to be considered. Articles written by men tend to show the focus on women who look good. It's always been like this, and I just don't know if it will ever change. You can't change human nature. To me, it can be all about loyalty and choosing things that really matter. A girl may have a medical condition all of a sudden and doesn't look good. All of a sudden, she is invisible until she sorts out her appearance. For men, they may lose their job and have to rebuild their wealth and start again. Women will avoid him like the plague. It's just what is, and we are all human. We want things that are nice and look good. It's brutal, but most people are like that, and it's not pleasant. Right. In other words, it is what it is. He says the exact same thing that I said there. Another person says, replace women with man in this article and you have all the reasons why MGTOW happens. But then those men get laughed at, called basement dwellers and incels, and are told they're being toxic instead of trying to understand their pain and have empathy for them. So when women want empathy for their pain, guess what happens? You reap what you sow. Ouch. And the final comment, the guy says, we are sorry for your situation, but face the fact, there are more men who are invisible to girls. Exactly. Which girl wants to date the beggar on the street, the low-salary man working hard to trying to pay the rent, or the men who are disabled? You are already lucky. Don't limit yourself. Go to the gym, remove your tattoos, get a makeover, and within a few months, you will be visible. I forgot to mention get rid of the tattoos, but that's pretty much what I was saying. Just face the fact that 99% of attraction is all the basic elements. Ignore the people who promote the 1% unique cases, and you will find everything works so much better for you. So there you go. It wasn't just me saying that. So long story short, for any gals out there that are unhappy, they're not getting attention from guys, take a look in the mirror. And if you are overweight, lose the weight. If you have short hair or you got hair dye, get rid of the hair dye, grow your hair long. Start putting on makeup. Start being feminine. Start dressing sexy. Mark my words, dudes are going to notice, okay? Unless you have some kind of disease or deformity, which is not your fault. Otherwise, it's simply just taking care of yourself and then pure maintenance. Gym multiple times a week, eating healthy, all the things I mentioned, you're good to go. And if you're a guy watching this and they're not paying attention to you and you have no job and no income and no money, get off your ass, start making things happen for yourself. Stop wallowing in pity and saying things aren't fair. Human nature is human nature. It is what it is. So, anyway, guys, that'd be a good one to go over there. It's always funny to me when men are made out to be the bad guys because, we're so shallow and superficial about the thing about attraction. It is our nature. It is what it is. Now you all know. Or now you all know those that don't know this already. And the same thing with women. They're attracted to. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.